Hey students, welcome back to Buddy. Let's review chapter 22 notes. So the setting took place at Little T school and in the apartment. Little T is not enjoying his new school. He is unhappy. Grandpa T was busy for a while fixing everything up in the apartment, but then when he didn't have a purpose or a job to do, he began to experience despair. He's watching TV all day long, and he misses his wife who passed away. And he talks to Little T. Little T wishes he can run away and bang the spoon like baby Terrell. Grandpa T spends time with Little T trying to comfort him. And finally, Grandpa T tells Little T that he has to pick up his load and become a man. Okay, let's find out what happens in chapter 23. But being a man ain't easy, and I can't do it. I go off to school every day and I do my homework like I'm supposed to. I make sure I don't fuss with Tanya. And I'm quiet when baby Terrell's sleeping. But that's all I can do. No matter what, it seems like I can't get happy. My mind can't help flying back to New Orleans, zooming over that black water and trying to see through the roof of our house. It's been almost 2 months, and there ain't no way that bag of food could last that long. So now Little T kind of knows, it's been 2 months, there wasn't that much food, but he definitely probably is not doing well. I can't think about that, but it's the only thing on my mind. Then one day toward the end of October, Daddy comes home from work and says he's got some news. We're sitting at the table eating, and he says the mayor made an announcement. The mayor says people can come in and look at their houses now. The water's gone way down, but there ain't no electricity. And the water in the pipes is poison. There ain't no gas for heating because the flood filled up the gas pipes. There ain't no stores to buy food. There ain't no schools. There ain't no firemen, and the National Guard's doing most of the policing. Excuse me. But, Daddy says, the mayor says if we want, we can come in the city. We can go to the house and look. We can look, he says, but we've got to leave. Everybody's got to be out of the city by 6 o'clock. And so, Mama says, and so, Daddy says, I'm wondering if anybody in this family wants to go look. There's nothing left, Mama says. There's no point in driving all that way just to look at dead trees and a house rotting into the ground. Daddy pushes his food around on his plate. Mama makes an airplane fly a couple of green beans into baby Terrell's mouth. I want to go look, Daddy says. A man at work said he'd give me a ride on Saturday morning. He said anybody wants to go is welcome. Another airplane load of beans is hanging right outside baby Terrell's mouth, but it ain't going in. Mama stops it in midair. That's foolishness, T. Jr., she says. We're making a new start here. You're going to let all that rot and ruin drag you down. I grew up in that house, Daddy says. I want to see it at least one more time. Mama puts down the plane load of beans and snatches off baby Terrell's bib. Well, I'm not going back, she says. I'm not ever going back. I don't have the stomach for it. She hoists baby Terrell out of his seat and he goes rocking off to his pile of toys. What about you? Daddy's looking at Grandpa T. Don't you want to see your house now? Grandpa T shakes his head. I'm too tired, he says. It will be good for you, Daddy says. Grandpa T shakes his head. I ain't going. Daddy leans over toward Grandpa T. Come on, Daddy. You need to get out of this apartment. Get up on your feet. I ain't going, Grandpa T says again. Comes a time, T Jr., when you got to let go. Daddy leans back. He and Grandpa T are looking hard at each other. I hear what you're saying, Daddy says, but this ain't that time. Then everybody's sitting quiet at the table. After a while, I raise my hand like I'm in school. Daddy looks at me. I want to see. I say, I'll go. Daddy frowns. He knows what I want to see. Then he nods. Okay, if you were old enough last time, I guess you still are. Okay, so we can see Grandpa T does not want to go back and look at the house. This is the house that he's had for many years. It's the house he bought, got married in that house, and he's tired. And he doesn't have the energy or strength to go and see it. I mean, it's destroyed and it's ruined. And he's kind of saying, you know, there comes a time in life, you know, where you have to let things go. You have to forget about them. And Daddy's saying it's not that time. Well, anyway, little T volunteers and little T's going to go. This time we start out when it's already light. This time I ain't surprised at the broke trees and the air don't smell like a Christmas tree lot anymore. This time Daddy's carrying a cooler with a big lunch packed inside, and I'm carrying a box of trash bags. In the city, there still ain't no working traffic lights, but it don't matter because there ain't hardly any cars. When we get to where there used to be a light, the handful of cars all stop and take turns going. Daddy and the man are shaking their heads the whole way. Look at that, they're saying. Look at that. We passed by a house where one side just fell into the street, and all the furniture is still sitting there like in a dollhouse. At one store, there's a front loader parked halfway through the front glass window. It's easy to see there ain't nothing left in the store. A pack of dogs comes trotting around the corner. I sit up straight and look hard. One of them is black, but he's got all four legs. Can't be Buddy. It's hard to figure out where we are because all the signs are down. Finally, we pass the corner where the tomato man sits. There ain't nothing there. Just sidewalk and weeds. Weeds as tall as me with white flowers on the top. All the yards are brown. All the grass and bushes are dead. Brown and gray tree branches are piled up as high as my head on the corner lots where they put them after they pulled them out of the streets. Somebody's fishing boat is sitting on the neutral ground. I see cars knocked every which way, some up in people's yards, some with wheels sitting on the front stoop, some upside down. One looks like it's driving up a tree. It's just standing there on its back end with its front wheels resting high up on the trunk of a big old oak tree. Every single car used to be covered in water. Their windows are smeared over with white and brown mud, like they've been painted with it. Well, mud is on all the steps and porches. There's a black line going around every house. Actually, there are a bunch of lines, one above the other. That's where the top of the water was, Daddy says. I'm looking at it way above my head, way above the top of the truck we're sitting in, so they could see the water lines. So the water rose, and then you can look at the houses and you can actually see where the water stopped rising. All the houses have spray paint marks on the front. They're all the same, a big X. What's that mark? Daddy says. The rescuers made it, the man says. They painted one on every house they checked. We watch the marks go by. We figure out they wrote the date at the top. We figure out they wrote what they found at the bottom. Most houses have a 0 at the bottom. We figure that means they didn't find anything. One house says 3 cats. Another house says 1 dead in attic. I'm thinking 1 what? Then I remember Mrs. Washington. I stop looking at the X's. The man pulls up at the corner of our street and drops us off. Now Daddy and me are walking exactly where I walked with Buddy. It was shady then, but now there's too much sun. Half the branches are gone, and what are left have been stripped of their leaves. It was noisy then, but now it's quiet. There ain't no sound anywhere except our feet crunching on the little twigs all over the sidewalk. There ain't any cars. There ain't any air conditioners. There ain't any ambulances in the distance or trucks backing up. There ain't any squirrels. There ain't even any birds. So New Orleans is empty. That hurricane took everything out of that city. The animals, the birds, the people, the homes, the cars, everything destroyed and underwater. We passed by a pile of trash washed up against somebody's fence. Daddy and me both gag at the same time. The smell is like a wall you walk into. It's like rotten cheese and spoiled chicken and horse droppings and dead rats and other things you don't even want to think about, all sitting there together for weeks and weeks in the hot sun. Imagine smelling that stench. We cover our faces and run past, but it feels like the smell sticks to us. We're looking up at all our neighbors' houses. They're all the same. That watermark sits just under the roof line of the one-story houses. Some of the houses have holes chopped in the roof. That's where people climbed out of the attic, Daddy says. Sometimes maybe that's where the searchers climbed in. On the 2-story houses, the watermark is about as high as the floor on the 2nd story. Our house is a 2-story. I'm thinking, and I feel my heart start to pound. That bathroom is on the 2nd floor, I'm thinking, and I feel my heart go even faster. And then there it is. All Mama's flowers and bushes are brown and dead. The driveway is covered up with mud. Half the pecan tree crashed through the attic roof. The other half has smashed the shed. My new bicycle is somewhere under there, but there ain't no point in trying to fish it out. It's been crushed and soaked in water for weeks. It ain't going nowhere, even if I found it. The front porch is covered in mud and twisted a little sideways off the front wall. The swing has come off one chain and is dangling halfway over the rail. The other porch chairs are gone. The pots of plants Mama had on the front steps are busted. And there is that X. There is that X painted above the front porch roof where the rescuers had tied up their boat. Right? They're traveling by boat to check the homes because the city was flooded. They get off their boat and they go to each home. They knock on the door. They try to see if there's anybody, right, in the home. And once they check a house, they put an X, okay? And then they date it, the date that they actually checked the house. So what's on Little T's house? What's on his door? I stand on the street and stare at the X. On the top, it says 9/12, September 12th, okay? On the bottom, it says 1 dog. That means on September 12th, when the rescuers checked little T's house, they found one dog. Okay, I'm going to leave you all in suspense, okay? There are going to be 2 stop and jot questions for chapter 23, and they're going to be worth 30 points each. I know I only give 1 question, but for this chapter, there are 2. Both questions are on the Google form, but I'm going to show you notes, okay, that explain each question. So we'll go to chapter 23 notes over here. So it starts off in the apartment, and then they visit New Orleans. Little T can't get Buddy off of his mind. Grandpa T says, I ain't going. Comes a time when you got to let go. Daddy and Little T visit New Orleans and observe the destruction. Their house was checked with an X by rescuers on 9/12/05/2005, and on the bottom of the X reads, one dog. There's some external conflict going on here. There's conflict between Daddy and Mama and Grandpa T, right? Daddy, he wants to return to New Orleans to look at the house. Mama and Grandpa T strongly disagree. They say they're not going. They want nothing to do with it. This is a problem that has to be solved. Well, what's the resolution? You see the word solution and resolution? See the word solution right there, right? I'll do like a little highlight, okay? So what's the solution? What's the resolution? Oh, well, Little T says, I'll go. And so Little T goes with Daddy to see the house. Here's your first stop and jot. Explain what Grandpa T means when he says, comes a time, T Jr., when you got to let go. What does that mean? Here's the other stop and jot question. Oh boy, if I could find it. Yes, but don't worry, both questions are on a Google form. They're not on these documents. Here we go. This is what Little T saw in the front of his house. I kind of just drew it myself with a magic marker, so excuse my drawing. But he saw 9/12, an X, one dog. I stand on the street and stare at the X. On the top it says 9/12. On the bottom it says one dog. Right, here's the second stop and jot. Write down some words that can describe Little T's emotions. What is he feeling? Is he feeling hopeful, sad, worried, anxious, optimistic, concerned, right? So there are 2 stop and jot questions, but when you open up the video for chapter 23 and you review the notes and you open up the stop and jot question, you will see both questions listed there on the Google form. Okay, I'll see you in Zoom. And on Monday, we will start chapter 24. Bye.